How does one comfort the mourner? It is one of the greatest mitzvot, the greatest commandments, for an individual to bring comfort to a mourner. That is done by going either to the prayer services at the person's home and helping to make a minyan there. And it's done as well by coming to make what we call a Shiva call or visit to the individual who is mourning. Usually the door is just left open when you make such a call, and you come and sit down next to the individual who is going through this experience. Now, there's no doubt that a person often feels, unless it's a very good friend, what am I going to say to this person? What can I possibly offer him to comfort him at this terrible time? And the answer to that question is that the person knows you can't say anything to him that's going to bring back his relative, and that you can't provide the ultimate comfort for that individual. Only God, after many weeks and months and maybe years, can present that comfort. But you can certainly be there, and your presence, just being, is what is so significant about making a Shiva call. That shows that you cared about the person who is now in mourning. In fact, to such a degree is that the case, that Jewish law says you are not supposed to initiate the conversation with the mourner. You're supposed to sit down next to him, and he or she is supposed to say what's on his or her mind. Once they begin the conversation, you can continue to have it with them. It could be sometimes a mourner doesn't want to speak. It's not proper that for you to start talking and keep talking when the mourner doesn't want to listen right now. The mourner may be upset, the mourner still may be in shock, whatever the situation is. Your bantering may not be something that he or she wants to hear. So you wait till they open the conversation and guide you and make an opening for you. And then you discuss with them. What should you discuss? People never realize this properly. They think you should discuss how things are going outside, what's the weather like since they haven't gone out in a while, what happened in the news recently. That's not what you should discuss. You should discuss the person who died. Now, of course, many people think the person who died, that's the one thing I'm not going to discuss. That's going to bring him more grief. That's going to make him more upset. No, that's not correct. We're supposed to discuss the person who died. Don't forget, the reason for all of these things we are discussing are to show respect for both the mourner, but also for the person who died. The Shiva period is a time when you can share things that you know about the deceased with the individual who's mourning. And often a mourner says, I never knew that before. I never knew that about my father or my mother or my sister. A person discovers all sorts of things that he was not aware of, even if he was very close to this individual. The mitzvot that this person did, the wonderful things that individuals did that they did not tell anyone about. All this comes out often at a Shiva house. You should discuss the individual, and even if the person does cry. We're told in the Talmud, especially the first 3 days of mourning, is a time for crying. It's understandable that a person should cry. That doesn't mean that you're not bringing him comfort because he cries. That's something that we expect from a person who's going through this process in his life. When you come to the Shiva house, you are not someone who's expecting, as is often the case, unfortunately, to get a meal, to come and eat dinner there, to take snacks, to take rolls, to take something and eat and go in a corner. That's not what you're there for. In fact, you're not allowed to socialize in a Shiva house. Unlike most homes, we know that's the case. You are not permitted to socialize in the Shiva house. That's not what a Shiva house is. You want to socialize with someone, you go outside the house and you talk. While you're in the house, you are speaking directly to the individual who is mourning. When you're done with that, unless you're helping someone in the house continue to provide for the needs of the mourner, then you leave. That's what you're there for. This is not a party. This is not a wake. This is something that's supposed to be done for the mourner, and when you've done your business, you are done and you leave. In fact, to such a degree is that the case that you are not supposed to go even and say hello to someone in a Shiva house, because that will just encourage that type of conversation. Everyone knows who are traditionalists that you're not saying hello to the person who's passing because you're in a Shiva house. It's inappropriate in a Shiva house to go saying hello to people. So that will be understood by people who know. And if someone does say hello to you, you just gently say hello, but you don't get into an intense conversation with them. When you leave the Shiva house, there is a statement that is made, "Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch shav leitzion v'Yushalayim," May you be comforted with all those who mourn together for Zion in Jerusalem. That's the same phrase we said you say as you leave the cemetery. Ultimately, we are telling this person that we are trying to bring you comfort. May God bring you comfort. And we hope that together, with the community being concerned about you, and with the Almighty being concerned about you, that indeed, as we know, it will not happen quickly, but in the weeks and months ahead, you will be comforted upon your loss and find your way back to the community and to normative life. I am Rabbi Hanan Balk, your rabbinic advisor for eShiva.com.